Have you ever caught yourself saying yes just because it felt easier than saying no? Or maybe you find yourself constantly accommodating others, always afraid to let someone down. It's a habit many of us fall into, living to please everyone around us, thinking it's the right thing to do. But in the process, we often lose sight of something far more important, ourselves. This was exactly the case for Maya Chen. As a marketing executive in a fast-paced corporate environment, Maya was known for her dependability. She never said no to a request, stayed late to complete tasks, and always managed to be what everyone else needed her to be. Her colleagues praised her, and her boss constantly relied on her. But behind the scenes, Maya was exhausted, overwhelmed, and struggling to remember what it was she truly wanted. One evening, after yet another late night at the office, Maya met up with her friend Lila, who noticed the fatigue in her eyes and asked, "Maya, when was the last time you did something just for you?" The question lingered. Maya realized she couldn't remember the last time she had chosen herself over others. Everything she did was for someone else's approval, to avoid conflict, or simply to keep everyone happy. Was she even living her own life anymore? Lila recommended Maya read The Courage to be Disliked by Ichiro Kishimi and Fumitake Koga, a book that explored the power of living authentically, free from the need for external approval. Curious, Maya picked up the book, and as she read, she began to see her life in a whole new light. The book posed a question that hit close to home. What if you could live without constantly seeking others' approval? What if you didn't have to please everyone? Maya realized that her need to be liked was driving almost every decision in her life. She felt weighed down by others' expectations, fearful of disappointing them and losing their approval. The book's insights challenged her deeply, but Maya began to wonder, could she actually have the courage to be disliked? One day, when her boss asked her to take on yet another last-minute project, she felt her familiar urge to say, "Of course." But something stopped her. Instead, she took a deep breath and said, "I can't do that tonight. I already have other plans." For the first time, Maya set a boundary, no explanation, no over-justification. Her boss looked surprised, even slightly disappointed, but he accepted her response. Maya braced herself for backlash, but it never came. Encouraged, Maya continued to apply the book's lessons. She took small, mindful steps to speak up more in meetings, share her ideas without worrying about unanimous approval, and set limits around her availability. At first, she felt a pang of anxiety every time she stood her ground. She even faced some criticism from a few colleagues who preferred her as the agreeable yes person she used to be. But with each decision, Maya felt lighter, less burdened by what others thought of her. Over time, Maya's perspective shifted dramatically. By choosing authenticity over approval, she discovered a sense of freedom she hadn't felt in years. She saw that her value wasn't tied to making everyone happy, but in staying true to herself and her principles. Her newfound confidence even inspired her team, who noticed the difference and began to feel more empowered to be authentic themselves. Reflecting on her journey, Maya realized something powerful. True courage wasn't just about overcoming external challenges, but about learning to live without fearing disapproval. By embracing the courage to be disliked, Maya no longer felt the weight of others' expectations on her shoulders. Instead, she was free to define her own path, based on her values and dreams. From that day on, Maya's life was different. She was no longer living for the approval of others, but for herself, a lesson she wished she had learned years earlier. Inspired by the courage to be disliked, Maya had finally learned that we can break free from the need for validation, allowing us to live a life that is more honest, fulfilling, and truly our own.